Hey guys, this is Sydnee A, and I am back with another exciting episode of Necro-fiends of the Frozen Dead, where we are celebrating the friends and fans of Johnny Necro. Today I'm going to sit down and talk to Mark McKenna, and this is super exciting because I have a sneak peek of a pinup that he made for the 25th anniversary edition of the Johnny Necro series. And this is your exclusive sneak peek. How cool is that? So sit back and enjoy this interview with me and Mark.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I hope all is well in your world. We are here to celebrate Johnny Necro's 25th anniversary and the Frozen Dead's 25th anniversary. And you and I have something in common.
Which is?
We were both at the Great Media Comic-Con.
I knew that was the answer.
And I was lucky enough to get picked to be an annoyance for your birthday.
You know what? I right here, I felt that. I appreciated that. Even though I'm not a big chocolate cake guy.
Well, I did not buy the cake. That was all Frank. I was just told to get everyone's attention. So any opportunity I get to stand on a chair and yell and be annoying I was taking it. So
yeah, I preferred you over Johnny. So.
But that is where I met Johnny, and so I was glad that we all got to meet, because I got to meet you through that event, which I have to give props to Leah Saboli. I would not have been there if I didn't know her. So it's great, this community, how everyone's connected. It's a really great group of people.
Yeah.
So we all want to know about you. Give us a little bit of background, what you do, how you got started.
So I've been in comics since 1985. I worked at Marvel on staff as what we called Romita's Raiders. John Romita Sr. was a Spider-Man artist that I used to read his comics in the back of a car at the drive-in movie theater in my teens. And then one day, he's the art director at Marvel at the time, called me up and offered me a position at Marvel. But back then, the minimum wage was $4.50 an hour, and my commuting would have been from Long Island to New York City every day, and I would have been in the minus, you know. So I decided I couldn't afford to do that, take that job on, and he kept me on his radar. And about a year later, he tried me again, and I had to explain myself that I couldn't do the job at that kind of income. And he said, what if I got you assisting work of other artists? And to me, that was the golden ticket. So I felt like if you can get me working with guys whose comics I read and now I'm supporting them, that would be a yes, you know.
So that's so cool.
Yeah. So I ended up, but again, I lived on Long Island at the time, and it would have been about a 60-mile commute back and forth every day. So I ended up moving into Staten Island with my sister. We took the Staten Island ferry down to downtown New York and then hop on a train. And then I did that for about 6 or 8 months. And then I ended up moving in with the assistant art director in Queens, New York. That was a lot easier commute. It was on the N train, like 7 stops.
Okay.
You know, I stayed there for not quite 2 years. But the problem with me being a Marvel corrections, you know, working in corrections for Marvel, is they never took me as a serious artist. But DC Comics was about 20 blocks away, and I used to bring my samples from Marvel to DC. And then one day I got a call from DC going, we have a new book and we'd like to hire you to do the book and give you a contract, what they call a continuity contract.
Okay.
And benefits package and a bonus at the end. And I said, this is it. So I left Marvel and went to DC, and I stayed under contract for 4 years. And then ironically, Marvel called me back in 1991. So this is 85, 86, around 87, started at DC. And then Marvel called me back in 91, asked me to do Doctor Strange. So I jumped ship and went back to Marvel. And that's kind of the beginning of it all.
I mean, how many people can say that they have worked for both Marvel and DC? Like that's an incredible thing in itself. You know, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I always say there's only a few hundred people, that do comic books, I mean, it's not thousands and thousands. Over the years, it might be, But,
Right.
I got to do Superman on a splash page, opening a page, and there's Superman flying at you. And I always say, how many people got to do that,
Right. Not many. And you got
Yeah.
to do it for the two major big hitters, which is, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I worked on some cool books, yeah, for sure.
Cool. I have a couple of the covers here that you sent to me. That's Iron Man, right?
Yeah, so that's the splash page. That's the first page you see, which is the credit page. And you can see on the yellow there scroll that my name is fourth down. So I worked on Iron Man for over a year, which is kind of cool too.
That's really cool. And the detail's amazing. Like you can just, every time you like look at another part of the picture, you see something else. So
Yeah,
that's so cool. I like it a lot. And, you were talking about your different stints in New York, but you are an international phenomenon.
Yeah, I accidentally sent you this, which I have no idea what country this is, but that is the Punisher. And I guess you call the Punisher tomorrow or whatever.
Right. I'm so glad that you weren't, because I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce that. So like, but for those following along at home, this is it in English. So
Yeah, it's funny.
But that's pretty cool. Like to have your covers in different languages.
Yeah, it is cool. I did a short 6-page thing from the Fantastic Four fighting Spider-Man in a backup story in Marvel Tales 198, and I think Switzerland put it in a calendar book, which was awesome, all 6 pages, but but they're speaking Swiss, or is that or Dutch? Is that it? Maybe I'm not sure.
I think Swiss. I think because Dutch is or Holland.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So to see your name, with Spider-Man going Octoliber or whatever he's saying, at the time, was very cool. Yeah, and I've seen my stuff in Italian, and I've seen my stuff in Spanish too.
That's awesome. And you can see all of Mark's stuff by following him on Instagram and Facebook, which is scrolling along the bottom right now. So make sure you guys do that. And just speaking of international stuff, I just have to do a little plug for myself. Last week, I saw that I sold a copy of my book, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Go-Go, to someone in the UK. So thank you, UK person that bought my book. That was exciting.
It's a good book. I'm 120 pages in, and I love it.
Well, thank you so much. You can get my book at learninggogo.com. Back to Mark. Okay. So what other things are you still currently doing, Marvel and DC? Are you doing independent things now?
So Marvel and DC haven't paid the bills for me in, I'd say, about 12 years. Last thing I did for Marvel was Star Wars, which isn't a bad thing. But at the time, Marvel didn't own Star Wars. Dark Horse Comics had the rights to Star Wars. And then when Disney bought Marvel, bought Star Wars, they become a conglomerate. They got the rights back to that. But 2012 was the last time I did mainstream stuff. But I have to tell you, at the same time, my stuff is it gets reprinted all the time because of the body of work I've done. I have about 1,200 credits in comics, and
wow, that's incredible.
Anytime a movie comes out, they, like Doctor Strange, they just took my 10 issues of Doctor Strange and put it in a new collection in a trade paperback, which is trade paperback is different than graphic novel because trade paperback is reprinted, whereas graphic novels new product. Okay. Yeah. So
when Multiverse came out, that came back to you with being reprinted because
if I had part of that, yeah. This Doctor Strange stuff was before the Multiverse. I mean, the Multiverse is always there, but it wasn't as tangible as it is now. Right. The other stuff that was big was Doom Patrol, which I did at DC, which wasn't a big selling book ever. The readership was around 35 to 40,000, which sounds like a lot, but when Marvel and DC books were selling 250,000 copies, it didn't seem like a lot. But there was a rabid fan base, and I was nominated for Inker of the Year in Comic Buyer's Guide, and they put out this, I want to say it's about 12-pound omnibus, which I got on a scale and picked up the book, and I was 12 pounds heavier.
Wow.
which I think if you're sitting at the beach and you put that on your chest, you're probably asking for a heart attack, right?
Right. Or at least just really bad tan lines.
That's probably even more horrific.
Right. But that's a big book. 12 pounds that's
yeah.
heavy.
I did 14 issues of Doom Patrol, and that cool little backstory. So the Doom Patrol stunt team, when they made the Doom Patrol TV show, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not, so please,
Okay.
Yeah.
They had a Doom Patrol TV show that was running, I believe, on HBO at one point. Originally, it was not. I think DC had its own subscription streaming, and then Max got it or HBO got it. But the stunt team, one of the stunt team people reached out to me and asked me if I would do the hoodie, the Doom Patrol hoodie for their stunt team.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I should have sent you some of those images, but so I said, listen, you can't just get me to do this. I have to work with my partner in crime, Richard Case, who is the guy who penciled the book, not just for my 14 issues, but a year before and a year after I left. And we made a deal, and there's only 57 hoodies, that are made, and I own I got one for my son and one for my son-in-law, and I own one which I never put on, but I'm proud to have had that, as a memento,
That's so cool, and that's a very exclusive hoodie club. If there's only 57, that's awesome.
Yeah. If I knew you at the time, I would have got you one too, but
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So you have had your finger in a lot of different pies, as I like to say, as far as like different characters and all. Do you have a favorite character that you've drawn, or one whose storyline speaks to you the most over the years, or are they like kids and you just don't want to say?
No, I'm a big cosmic superpower guy. I like the Silver Surfer. I like the more obscure guys like Adam Warlock, which they did in the Guardians movie, although I didn't like the way they handled him. To me, he was kind of like soft-spoken, kind of godlike presence, but they made him like a childish kid, brash and stuff like that. And that's not the way I imagine him. So right. When that happens in comics, right, you've had a few of my characters that I, did lengthy runs on, like Blink from Days of Future Past, which was the X-Men movie. Mm-hmm. So we did The Exiles, which I think it was my longest run in any one comic, was 39 issues.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Of the first 100, yeah. So I had a good run on that. But when you see them on screen, they're generally not how you imagine them. Which is like people who say, listen.
The book is better than the movie. Right? Was that what you were going to say?
Exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because with me, there's so many that I know from the movie, but I haven't read the book yet. My oldest and my nephews have, and they will come and say the same exact things that you're telling me. So like I actually have heard that before because of, fans of the comics.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Rick Riordan? He did the Sea of Monsters, Percy Jackson, those books.
I was going to say, I know the name, yes.
Yeah. So my son was about 13 years old. He was reading the Percy Jackson books, and then they made a movie, and he's 13, and he went to the movie and goes, Dad, I don't like that, because he read the book. Yep. Even at 13 years old, he kind of like got figured it out,
Exactly. It's like the True Blood books, apparently, they took a complete turn. And I started reading them, and I liked the show so much that I'm like, I think I'm going to stick to the show because it's like a whole different.
Yeah.
Different
because I could see you liking one over the other and getting away from the other one because it might corrupt you.
Is that even possible at this point? Is there more damage that can be done? But no, there's definitely something to be said of being a fan of the comics, and then the movie takes way too many liberties from what you're used to imagining and the character that you have in your head. I get that completely.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, though, that now you are creating your own kind of characters as well, because you're doing more of independent type stuff, right?
Yeah. My whole, I got involved with the NFT business for a year and a half, and that was very profitable for me. I didn't really know what NFTs were at the time, but
I still don't.
Crypto art, yeah, it's
I know it's digital art, but I'm one of those people that I just don't get it, and I can admit that. I have a couple. I don't know what to do with them.
Oh, you have some NFTs?
I got them like when you buy concert tickets and they gift you an NFT with your
Oh,
purchase. Like,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a good run. And this was I worked with this one company, a platform called Maker's Place, and Maker's Place had they wanted me to be their branded Star Wars artist because I had the Star Wars background, and I said, yeah, let's do it. So I started doing, Darth Vader with Baby Yoda in a high chair, and Darth Vader just slaying the Rancor and things like this. And then they were selling out like hotcakes. So it was crazy money in like immediate. You could watch the stuff go live, and then like 10 minutes later, you're $15,000 richer. And you're like, it was crazy. It was like, what just happened?
Right.
But then I found out that the one company didn't even have the rights to do Star Wars. They were just doing it because the whole business was kind of under the radar.
Right.
But this one artist from DC who was working on Wonder Woman back in the 70s did a Wonder Woman NFT with her holding the earth over her back, and it sold for $1.85 million.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden, everybody was like, what just happened? Their eyes got huge. And it changed the whole game for doing, stuff in the public eye. It's licensed, So
Right.
then I started doing stuff that was in public domain, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, mythological characters, things, monsters, other than Universal monsters. Or you could do that, but I did a Creature from the Black Lagoon, but they wanted me to change the name to whatever, something from the Dark Lagoon or whatever.
I was going to say from the Dark Lagoon or from the Black
Yeah,
Bubble.
it was something different, but and that was okay once I did that,
Yep, it's all just making sure that you're not using it exactly the way it was licensed. But
yeah,
that's funny. You were doing black market Grogu and you didn't even know it.
It was wacky. And then, of course, the whole NFT businesses, Tailspin, and people are offering a lot less money for them because it's not what it was. I don't know if it'll ever come back either, but.
I was wondering if it was still a popular thing. I hadn't heard much about it recently, but it seems like everything, the trends, it's moved on to something else now.
Yeah, it's the same way with speculators in the comic book market, right? And the boom was in the early 90s. 1992 was a ridiculous year for comics. I worked on a Spider-Man book that sold 1.1 million copies.
Wow.
And I had no idea. I just did an 8-page story in it, and I'm like, 1.81 million copies. Royalties were like nuts. And then I signed 4,000 of them for the QVC that year at
Okay.
$2 an autograph. They paid me $8,000 just to sign my name 4,000 times.
That's worth it.
It was, except the guy had no personality who came to my house.
Oh no.
I had to deal with that guy in my house from 9 o'clock till 4 in the afternoon.
Oh wow! Was it where they were filming it, like filming
No,
you signing?
no, actually, it was just me signing, and then a week later they scheduled it to be on the TV.
Oh, okay, was he just there to make sure you were actually signing them and that you didn't
Yeah, I had to
have your kids do it too?
Yeah, right.
Gotcha. Okay.
I had to sign a prototype form, and then 3,999 had to look like the prototype form, because at some point you're like, yeah, I can't move my hand,
Definitely.
Yeah, but it was good. That was a good.
And it's funny, like how you have to decide this is going to be my signature now, because once you do it, I had to do that with my book. I'm like, how am I going to make the S? Because I want to make sure when people buy signed copies, they're all congruent. So I can't. I hope one day I have signed my name 4,000 times.
Yeah. I hope so for you too. That's when they change a signature to an autograph, right?
Yes, exactly. And thank you again for checking out my book. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I want to know, because these covers are badass. Tell us about this.
So this is Vampire number 3. The guy I'm working for, Zach Lynch, came up to me at a Comic-Con in Albany, I think 2 years ago. And he asked me, he said, listen, I want to do this project. He goes, I don't have an art team, but I do have a written story. And I can afford 3 books worth of income, expense to do. Whoop.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
You got a blink there, yeah. So are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
Yep.
So So the guy, I said, listen, I could put a team together for you, but it's going to cost you about $375 a page to do your book. That's penciling, inking, coloring, and lettering.
Right.
So I'm putting everything together for him. All he has to do is write the story and hand it over. So I had a team that I put together, a lot of the guys that I worked in previously, because there's a lot of guys right now, because of the boom disappearing in comics, there's a lot of talented people that don't have jobs.
Yeah.
So, and I was fortunate enough that I kind of got past the problematic times and managed to stay busy for that. And people will look to me and go, hey, maybe Mark's got something, because
Right.
I always have something in the works. So Zach said, let's do it. And we had finished our 4th book. So it's a 6-issue miniseries. First 3, I think that he ran a Kickstarter for the 4th one. And he tries to do all his variant covers. Variant covers people think are worth more money because there's less of these than there are those. And
Okay.
there's a newsstand edition versus a direct only edition. Newsstand meaning it'll get into Barnes and Nobles and 7-Elevens versus new direct market, which is only comic book shops, which is not refundable.
Oh.
If you're a comic shop, you keep what you order.
So if you order 50 and you sell 5, then sucks to be you.
You got 45 for the back order bin,
Right.
But with the newsstand editions, how they used to see this, used to peel the cover off on the comic and then return it or whatever, and that's how they got accounted for, the value, what they had left, So in a newsstand, they could put 50 issues of Spider-Man in there. And if 2 sell, they got to get responsible for the other 48, getting their money back.
Right.
So it got a little tricky until they created the whole direct market.
Okay. Because this is the other vampire cover, which is so cool.
Yeah, and this is a homage to, again, the guy who was my boss for years, John Romita Sr. He did a Medusa cover, Medusa being one of the Inhumans who had the live hair. And that's supposed to be Spider-Man on the bottom, but we changed him into a security guard.
Yeah, you got to watch that licensing.
Yeah.
No, I love, again, the detail is what pops out at me. And I can see it says McKenna on the side there where you have your signature.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Very cool.
Top to bottom. Thank you.
So Medusa, quick question. Do you think that it's just the hair on her head that's snakes, or do you think when she shaves her legs, there's a bunch of little baby snakes all over the place?
That's more than I ever considered. You go in hair on the legs, and my head's in a whole little bit.
I was trying to keep it from Johnny having to edit us out. But these are the thoughts that kept me out of the really good schools. So. So we were talking too before we started recording that you've also done trading cards.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, back in the early 90s, again, because of the boom in comics, not only was Marvel selling stupid amounts of books, and then DC had a counter by putting more books out, they were putting everything out. They had companies, they were, selling, bubbles and lunch boxes, and trading cards were hot for a while, because you would get into the trading card business, and as an artist, and you would do these artist proofs, what they call. So you would get a blank trading card, and you can probably look some of these up. I know Marvel Universe 4, I think, was one of the ones I did about 10 cards for. Also did Spawn trading cards for Todd McFarlane, and I did DC, did some too. But what they would do is send me these, I think 8 blank cards. And, well, first of all, you get 50 you have to do, and you get a very nominal fee for doing them, like $4 a card, or if you add color, you get $5 a card. And it's really not great money. But you can knock out probably maybe 20 cards in a day. So maybe it makes up the difference.
Okay.
But then you could do 5 or 8 of your own, and then you could sell them on wherever you are. If you're at a con or on eBay, And so, and they were hot for a while. There was Iron Man trading cards. I had done a couple of those. And then, like anything else, it's a cyclical thing. I don't think people, now, the people got thousands of cards and they don't know the value, is there value to them? I don't know,
Well, that's what, the value is what somebody's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's why, I have so much china downstairs, like the dishes. And part of me wants to just make a rage room and charge people $5 to throw it. Cause I don't think anybody's going to pay for it because people don't use china anymore. And it was my great grandmother's. It's, but being old doesn't make it valuable if no one's going to pay for it.
The Hess trucks were like that too. Remember the Hess trucks?
I have those as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I sent one to my godson in New Zealand because I thought he would really like the ambulance with the light up and all. And I'm like, what am I going to have it in a box in the attic for what?
That's where mine are.
Are they? How many do you have?
I think I did 10 years of them.
Okay.
The last one I think I got was, because my son is 1995, he was born. And, well, I certainly got 5 years. So I might have 8 years, but around when the change of the millennium, I got that one, and then that was the end of that. But I've been to shows where people are trying to sell them for a lot of money, and they just sit there. Nobody wants to pay. The other one is the Bradford exchange, the Bradford plates.
I remember those as well.
All those Disney plates. We have them. They're beautiful, but
right. Exactly. I had those, and I had the Franklin Mint cars. I don't if you remember those. Franklin Mint was actually about 10 minutes from me, and within the last couple of years, they knocked the building down, and now they're townhouses. It's like the Franklin Farms or something. They like that's where the building was. The big. Yeah, as far as I know, maybe they have other locations, but that particular one's gone.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, but those, I wonder what they're worth, if anything.
Right.
And that's something you get rid of them, and then the next year it's the next hot trend, and it's like, damn it.
Yeah, that much.
Exactly. Yeah. I just narrowly grasped defeat from the arms of victory.
Yeah. My mom passed away a couple of years ago, but she had all those Rockwell statues too, and again, nobody wants that stuff,
Yeah, I have a couple Hummels. I don't know if they're worth anything. Same thing,
Same thing. What you're willing to pay, yeah. I think the first of everything is always good, right? Like the first one ever. The first Beanie Baby is still worth a lot of money.
Yes.
Number 500, not so much,
Yep. Yeah, my ex-mother-in-law collected Beanie Babies and had an entire room. She had them in the boxes with the tag covers.
Yeah.
And it was like Mission Impossible. Every time a new beanie came out, we had to go find it. And brought my friend into the room to show her this, it was almost something out of a horror movie, all these Beanie Babies staring at you, And I look, and on top of the one thing of Beanie Babies, there was a garter snake. It was about 4 feet long, just laying on top of the Beanie Babies. And I yelled at my ex-father-in-law. I'm like, you got another tag? I'm like, we'll just give it a stupid name and let it stay, But he came down and grabbed it and threw it outside.
This is a real snake. This is
a real snake, yeah.
Oh,
no, that's why I was like, we just need to name it and give it a tag, and it can hang out.
Yeah. Boy, but this Beanie Baby got out of the cage.
Exactly, he escaped.
Yeah, and we still have 2 Tupperwares full of them, and dust collectors.
Yeah, I was really hoping they would pay for my kids' college tuition, but I don't think anybody's going to buy them.
Yeah, get those number 1, Princess Diana dolls,
Right. I just gave my Cabbage Patch Kids to my daughter. Part of me was like, oh, maybe I should keep that. And no, I'd rather have someone enjoy it than have it collect dust, because maybe someday it's worth something.
Yeah, I know. I wish if we only knew, right?
Right, if we had a time machine, because you watch American Pickers and they will go and be like, this pen is worth $8,000, but then this entire crystal chandelier is worth 50 cents. I don't get it. I don't understand how they price things.
Yeah, I don't either. I do know that when I was collecting comics as a young teen, I spent $7 on Avengers #1. So I would say I was probably around 1970s, and Avengers #1 came out in 1962.
Okay.
And we went to a comic book store in Brooklyn, Actually, I went. I couldn't go that day, but I gave one of my friends $7 or $10. I said, "Buy Avengers #1," because I knew the guy had them there, but he had them behind the counter because they were not 20-cent books. So he had two in his hand. He picked the best one and brought it home and gave it to me. And I was like, "Yay! I got Avengers #1." My mom smacked me in the head. "What are you spending your money on this crap?" It's about a $3,000 book now.
Wow. Now that's a good investment.
Yeah, that was a good one. My mom was
Yeah.
like, "You're so smart."
Yeah. Sorry, I smacked you. I take it back. Yeah, I have Clerks comic books and I have a Guns N' Roses comic book.
That's
But
cool.
my son has an entire library. He goes every Wednesday to the comic book store to pick up what they have that he ordered for the week. Like he is an extensive
Oh, that's awesome. I love
collector.
hearing that.
Yeah. So I live vicariously through him.
Now,
and his collection.
how did you get involved with that? Was that you or hubby or?
My brother-in-law, who passed away in 2010, he was very into comics. So his two sons would stay with us on the weekends a lot after their dad passed away. And I think because of Mike's collection, got them kickstarted into it, and then they've gone from there. So it's kind of like enjoying the art, enjoying the stories, and paying homage to Mike too. So it's kind of like a cool.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing that. Yeah, because we always think that comics are going to die with the last oldest guy who read them. There's no connector. So, and my kids don't read them. Which is one thing is cool. My daughter married a guy who had a comic collection.
Oh, okay.
And he'd say to her, "I love you. Your dad's like a bonus," And he's so for Christmas last year or 2 years ago, I worked on a Silver Surfer piece for him with one of my other artist friends, and I framed it and sent it to him, gave it to him for Christmas. It's hanging right over his fireplace. He's the very proud owner of it.
I was gonna say, I bet that made his whole day. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I actually made him a muscle shirt with the Silver Surfer artwork that I did for the Silver Surfer Annual back in 1993.
Okay.
And I gave it to him. And as soon as I gave it to him at the beach, he pulled his shirt off and put it on. He goes, "I'm wearing this," He's all excited.
That's so cool. Like,
Yeah,
I love that you guys connected through your daughter. Like, yeah, you guys, have that in common. Because sometimes it's just like with the in-laws, it's like, hi, you have nothing to talk about. So it's really cool that, you guys
there's a connector there. Yeah. And in fact, Brandon's brother wanted to draw comics. He actually drew a short story for me that I had published in a book called The Tomb of Balberith, which is a horror title that I do, which I didn't send you any images, but it's an anthology series about this demon Balberith who is in suspended animation. And this little demon jester sidekick releases these horrors on humanity to collect body parts to feed him. So and it's brains, hearts, and souls. So we had to come up with our own monsters and go out on humanity and collect things. And I did a second volume of it too, which is kind of fun. And my son even wrote one of the stories. I forget the name of the baby, but it's this giant baby head, and he has to eat brains just to keep going, And it looks like Babyface Finster from Bugs Bunny. But he's in a little stroller, and he's like this giant veiny head,
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's called Big Head.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, my son wrote it. It was funny as hell,
And I love that because in the comic world, if you can imagine it, you can create it. There is no, well, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. It's a comic, and it's it's what entertains you.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
There's no ropes to it. Have fun with it. Yeah.
Exactly. You want somebody to have tentacles and a third eye, and they whistle for a living. Hey, why not? Who cares?
You said tentacles?
I said tentacles. I did not say testicles, but they can have them too.
It's
okay. There are hairy balls in this book. So
I did a piece for Johnny. Did you see that?
I love that you showed me. Yes, but I'm so glad you're sharing it here. That is so cool.
Yeah. So he actually has a follower that Johnny told me the guy wants to buy the original, and so he's supposed to send them over to me at some point, which is cool.
Awesome. Sorry, I got distracted looking for Harry Scrotum. I can't find him, but he's in here.
I'm sure
he is in here. I promise.
Yeah. You'd have to put your fingers on it.
Yeah. Now, if he has Medusa hair, that just opens up a whole other conversation. Oh my goodness.
We're early into drinking. It's not.
It's okay. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers to you, sweetie. Yeah.
Yes. You did send me another photo as well, so I wanted to put that up, and you can give us the story behind this as well.
Yeah. So the idea of Vampire is he's a rock and roll vampire. He comes across a vampire, fights him on his.
I was like, are we going back to what we were just talking about?
Yeah, no, his, what do you call that thing? A VR? What's the virtual reality? He has a virtual reality device on his arm.
I'm like vampire. Apple Watch. I was not.
Like that kind of,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
VR just whoop, right out my brain. So we're 4 issues done and there's 2 issues to go, but he wants to make his universe larger, the publisher, Blue Shack.
Okay.
So this is a spin-off of one of the Vampire guys. He's like one of the rock and roll guys that Vampire plays with. And he's going to have his own series. And then he asked me about other artists for other books. So he's got 4 books now he wants to schedule. I don't know how he's going to manage them all because it's not cheap to put these things together.
No.
But God bless him. And he's really liquid. He's very good about paying and he's very honest. And it's nice for me because there's no stress. I get it done when I get it done. It's not like Marvel where you got 3 weeks to get
deadline.
You can't go on vacation, or if you go on vacation, you got to work at the beach, that kind of stuff, which I didn't.
This is a first peek, right? This is like brand new. So.
That is brand new. And actually, I don't know if any of the followers would be interested, but he's using this piece as a coloring contest to possibly hire a colorist to do the interiors. So if you follow me on social media, you might be able to see this, and then you can reach out. I believe he's doing it on Twitter, which I don't think we're on Twitter. You and I.
No, I can. When Johnny posts it, we'll make sure to post the Twitter too.
Yeah,
but you can say what is your Twitter handle?
I don't know. It's
okay.
Mark McKenna. I don't know.
Okay. As I say, I can try and find.
I'm terrible with that stuff. Let me take a quick peek here and let you know. It is Mark McKenna 419.
Okay, so everyone can follow you on Twitter at Mark McKenna 419.
Yes, I'm not a big Twitter guy because I hate the limited amount of digits you can use, and I post cool artwork and I get 10 likes. I'm like, I got 2,700 followers. How do I get 10 likes on a piece?
Yeah, because they're not showing it because it's not. Okay, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about Twitter, but on Instagram, you are getting more interaction, right? Because that's more of like a visual site. So
you can't put anything up without a visual, right?
Right, exactly.
So have a peace of mind thought for the day. Hey, why are oranges orange? That kind of.
Exactly. That's funny. What rhymes with orange? But that's like my Twitter's like I never post on there either because it's the same thing. I'm yelling into the vacuum on that site. I definitely prefer Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to shamelessly plug myself here for a second, and you can follow me on. That's so funny. Learn to go on Instagram and Facebook. Okay. I thought that was my old information. I'm like, look at me putting up old stuff, but it is correct. It is Learn to Go on both. You can follow me.
So there's a guy on, I just saw this guy the other day. I don't even know his name. He's not a pro. I watch him. He puts these ink samples up of recreating famous comic covers. And he's got 1/3 of my followers, and he gets 120 likes on his art prints. I'm like, something's wrong here,
It could be bots though.
Oh, I guess so. Or you could,
because I will put up a story and I'll get all excited that I have all of these, people saw it. And then the last 10 are like, come to my porn site. It's like, no. Like I want real interaction with real people.
You can also pay, right? You can pay for followers too, or no?
You can, but it's the same thing. They're not real people.
Oh.
Just, when I first published my book, I was drinking one night and decided to go along with this "we'll blast out your book for followers" ad and paid money, and it would say 13,000 people liked it or 25,000 people liked it, and I sold exactly 0 books. So I don't care about the number of likes if it's not actual people
producing. Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's, I'm sure people will look and be like, oh, they got all of those likes. But I think now they actually hide the likes that you get a lot of the time. Like, people can't even see it.
Wow.
So, if you're paying to stroke your own ego, then sure, but if it's not coming back with people, buying your art or whatever, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, or even, it did piss me off a little bit, but I'm over it.
Yeah, it's all the algorithms, because I'll go through and I'll see one person that I didn't even know I was friends with in my newsfeed 25 times, and then people that I know I never see. And it's just like, I don't know how it determines who sees what, which is why I'm constantly posting, just trying to stay current.
I don't. And, as I get older, the less I care, And when I was a mainstream guy at Marvel in DC, if I was that guy today, I'd have 10, 15,000 followers, instead of 3 or 4, because the indie stuff doesn't bring the same love, and now I'm more of a classically, trained guy from the late 80s, early 90s was my time. I can't believe how that's 30, 35 years ago now, Talking to a friend in comics, he goes, "You're like after the Legends and when the comics guys we read." He goes, "Like you're the next tier." I'm like, "Shit, I'm that old."
It's crazy when I'm like, "Yeah, 20 years ago, the 70s." No.
Yeah, that's how we think, though, right?
Yeah, that in my brain,
Yeah.
But that's why people can also check out your website.
Yeah, that's my monkey book of Banana Tail, who's a monkey who ate his mother said, "You're going to eat so many bananas, you're going to turn into one day." And he wakes up with a yellow tail, and he's thought, he's screwed, basically. So he goes off to find the wise kind of Wizard of Oz ostrich called Eggboo, and Eggboo says, "You're a good-looking monkey. Be happy with who you are," and his plaid zebra friend and his mood color changing rhino girl friend. All have unique gifts, and so it's about being different and being accepted.
I love that.
That's how it started. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'm trying not to beat anybody in the head with morals, but at the same time, I want to make them fun and have some morality in them.
Right, definitely. I love that. That's so cool. And I have your other website as well, so people can check it out. Yeah,
that's more current stuff. What am I doing? Appearances that I'm doing for the year, like the Great Media Con, where I met you.
Yes. Do you have any cons coming up in the near
future? Not a lot though. Sydney, I've been doing 15 to 20 shows a year, and I've been doing them for 38 years. So I'm tired of doing shows, So I'm down to like 5 or 6 this year. And some of these guys, they want you to travel to California, Montreal. You got to spend 2 hours at the airport, and then you got an hour on the plane, and you don't get paid for that,
Right.
So I started implementing an appearance fee with some of these, and the only ones that really I don't ask for is the ones I got grandfathered in, and I know I'll do well, and I'm friends with the promoters. But some of the newer ones, you throw a number at them, and they're like, "I'm out," and I'm like, "I'm okay. I'll stay home then,"
Exactly, because you've put in the time and have the cred to ask for that. So absolutely, your time is valuable.
But the problem with the comic book community is they're so happy to get invited that a lot of them say yes without even asking money. So I'm creating something for myself that maybe isn't gonna jive with a lot of them. Hey, I got invited, so I'm happy. They put it in a hotel. Well, I will say that the one thing I did before I started asking an appearance fee, again, it's not a lot. It's like $200 a day, or $250 a day. But they have to pay for hotel if I'm going to commute, and they have to pay for airfare or my travel expense. That's the minimum, you know. Then when I was doing those, I was still doing 15, 20 shows a year, and I just, you know, it's exhausting. You come home after 3 or 4 days. Did you make enough money? Did you not make enough money? Did you regret going to the show? Do people give a shit that you're there? You know, all that stuff plays a role, you know.
Yeah. Well, I did the Saturday, Sunday at the Great Media Comic-Con, and I also went to the Back to the Future thing. I wanted to sleep for like 16 days after that. It was, and I wasn't a vendor. I was just doing interviews. Now, granted, I didn't sit all day. You know, you saw me, I was walking laps, you know, like talking to people, but just the energy, and it's such great energy. And while you're in there, it's awesome. And you're so like high on the energy that when it's over, it's like, you know, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was so fun though. And I like the Great Media Comic-Con was my first Comic-Con last year. So it's kind of like my experience of a Comic-Con is that. And I know it's a smaller con and it's, you know, definitely like hometown. So I like, part of me wants to go to the Philly one and go to the Ocean City one and go to the bigger ones. But like part of me is like, but I like the little like everything.
Yeah, no, I like to be I'd rather be the big fish at a small con than be a small fish at a big con. Mm-hmm. Because the competition is stifling sometimes, right? The other thing is I mentioned that Carlisle Comic-Con to you. You want to reach out to that at some point. I'll hook you. I don't know where you are with that, but Ken Lawrence is the promoter, and that's happening, I believe, in October. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's that far from media either. So
it's a few hours. I did look it up.
You did.
It's further than I thought it was going to be. So that's why I'm like, I'll see what's going on.
Yeah, you don't need to spend $150, $200 for a hotel and sell 5 books. You know, hopefully you sell 100 books, but you know,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of show it is. It's new,
and then I'd only have another like 3,500 to sign to get to the 4,000. I have not signed that many, but I appreciate everyone who has bought personalized copies. Thank you. But yeah, I just love the people in the community that I've met. Like the comic fans and the movie fans and the horror fans are just a really awesome, you know, like unique group of people. And everyone has been so kind and just passionate about what they're into. And it's so fun to see like people just expressing themselves and being like, this is me, and it's fun. And it's so great to be a part of. I'm just very grateful.
Yeah, no, I do like the community. It's changed over the years, right? I was doing shows back in the 80s, and cosplaying was not even a thing back then, right? So sometimes you get this, you know, you'll hear from a promoter, I had 5,000 in my show last year. And I'm like, great, how many of them are comic book fans, you know?
Right.
You can always tell by who's selling comic books at the shows, too, versus Beanie Babies or, you know, Pokemon cards. And that plays a role into, and I love cosplayers, but they don't have pockets. They don't have money.
Right.
They're there for photo ops, a lot of them, and I love them, and I have a lot of friends that cosplay, but you know, I don't think they come home with Avengers #1.
Right. Yeah, and this was the first time I ever did cosplay. Was this year's Media Comic-Con.
You did good with April O'Neil.
Thank you. And I was Lois Lane on Saturday.
Yeah.
So if I do cosplay again next year, I'm investing in some wig glue because nobody would tell me when my wig I look like George Costanza walking around, and nobody told me. I'm like, guys, come on. I took a picture with Claudia Wells and I was like, can we please take it again? I look like Humpty Dumpty in a wig. My wig was like, no one told me.
I didn't know what you're supposed to look like, so.
Well, I'm not supposed to have my whole full 6 head showing, you know, like if it has bangs, they shouldn't start up here.
Yeah, of course.
But it's all good. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of great people. So
live and learn too, right?
Included.
Oh, thanks, dear.
So awesome. So what else is going on in your world that you can tell us about, where we can find you? I'm going to put up your social media again for people to follow.
Yeah. So don't have a lot of shows. I'm actually going to Maine next weekend just for my wife's girlfriend is babysitting a house in Maine. I'm not even sure where it is. Port. What is it called? What's the Portsmouth? No.
In Maine, I only know Bar Harbor in Maine. I'm not.
Yeah, in Algonquin. This is kind of cool. Algonquin is kind of a touristy town, But I have artwork hanging up in a bar restaurant there called
Really?
Food for Thought. Yeah, if you go into the main street in Algonquin, on the left side is this restaurant called Food for Thought, and behind the outdoor bar is one of my pieces of art. The guy blew it up into a 4 foot by I don't know 3 foot piece of behind the bar, and it's basically a piece that encompasses Maine and the summers in Maine. So it's Iron Man and Captain America windsurfing.
I love that.
Wolverine is playing volleyball with Black Widow and Captain Marvel. And he puffs the ball with his claws. And
That was my first thought when he said he was playing volleyball. I'm like, how did he not pop it?
yeah, he did that. And Thanos is sitting on a lounge chair, snapping his fingers, and Deadpool is the waiter. He's disintegrating, that kind of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah. So so it'd be good to go back there and take another picture with those guys.
Well, I was going to say, if anybody is ever at that restaurant and sees your picture up there, they have to take a photo and tag your social media so you can see it.
Food for Thought is the name of the place.
That's awesome.
Hopefully it did. He had it outdoors, and I don't know if it was able to hold up during the weather, because when I saw it, it looked a little faded, and that was over 2 years ago. So,
right. Yeah. Well, being outside's rough on any kind of artwork.
Yeah. And then the guy owns another place down the block, about maybe a mile, called Odd by Nature, and I did a beer label for him, which was kind of cool too. It was already
cool.
Blackberry fruity beers, which I don't really like, but it's cool to have a beer label, right? So that was kind of fun.
So you can add that to your repertoire too. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Not everybody has a beer label.
No, that's true story. Yeah,
DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
And the beer label.
Yeah, I actually did Captain America. I actually did Captain America getting on the elevator during one of the Avengers movies, and he's saying "Hail Hydra," but they were afraid they were going to get sued, so they took it out.
That's valid.
Yeah, they bailed on that, And so the Carlisle Comic Con is October. I'm doing the Ocean City is in December. Are you doing that one?
I don't know yet. I don't know anything about it. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm still learning about all of these things. So,
well, I can direct you because I'm tight with the promoter, James.
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever I can help direct you to, I would be happy to. Because I know you want to do more anyhow, right? So
yes, yeah, I definitely would like to be making appearances for the book, because the Media Comic-Con was doing the interviews for content for the creators and all that. Like, we're just trying to help each other out, because that's the name of the game, is cross promotion, and we all like in this community, I'm learning we can just all help each other, and all when the tide comes in, all ships rise. I say it every episode, but it's true. Like, there's enough success to go around, and we can all help each other out. So
right. I think I'm pretty much done otherwise.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for hopping on here.
Happy to do it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, on to number 2.